Dumb, cool,
and weird
podcast. All right, folks. Welcome to episode 11 of the Dumb, Cool, Weird podcast. I'm Wes. This is Nick. And we're joined today by Scott Quady, who's also a photographer and actually works at the same company as me.
Nice.
Yep.
And what we're going to be talking about today is we're going to focus on baby boomers and what it was like growing up for baby boomers, all the way from childhood through teenage years through young adulthood. Because I think that'll be like a really good perspective, because this is mainly a millennial podcast, and I think it'd be really cool to hear the perspective of a baby boomer.
All right.
So let's get started.
Yeah.
So is it true that baby boomers hate millennials? Do you guys hate us?
No, not really. Maybe feel sorry for them.
Oh, yeah?
Nah.
Oh, so there's
Nah.
no sorry.
Nah, I wouldn't say hate.
Okay. Well, why don't you tell the audience how old you are and what year you were born?
I was born in 52. I will be 70 in another 7 months.
So you are the quintessential baby boomer.
I guess so.
Born in the 50s, grew up in the 50s. Was it like Leave It to Beaver, Scott, in the 50s?
Yeah, very much.
Oh, yeah? Absolutely?
Yeah, leaving your house and your car unlocked, everybody getting along.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, what was, if you don't mind, you can go into detail. Tell us what it was like, basically being a kid in the 50s and part of the 60s.
Well, most of the time, my mom was a single mom.
Yep.
And spent a lot of time living with my grandparents back in Florida. Let's see, discipline was more strict.
Yeah.
Yeah, they still had spankings in school. There were a couple times I was sent to the principal's office and got treated to the paddle with holes in it, I guess, for greater speed or whatever.
More aerodynamic.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably led to a lot of people being into kink.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure some kid was like, you know what? I like this a little too much.
Yeah, that's kind of scary. But in addition to being sent to the principal's office, it meant a lot when you were told, your parents are going to hear about this. They're going to be getting a call. It's like, oh, shit.
So Dad's going to get out his belt and work you over a good bit, too.
Yeah, yeah. You know those paddle balls? Those toys?
Yeah.
Well, my mom had one of those without the rubber band and the ball. So I would get treated to that
That's
as
fun.
necessary.
Yeah.
Until, I got to like 10 years old or so where I could outrun her.
So the funny thing, Scott, is I was born in '89, and they still had paddling in the '90s. That was like the last time they did that was like early '90s, and then they kind of got rid of it after that. But I got a little taste of that when I was in elementary school.
I used to get the wooden spoon of the knuckles by my mom.
Oh, that's
Oh,
fun.
that too.
Yeah. My dad would just use a belt on me.
Yeah, the belt was a little too much for my parents, but the knuckles and spoon trick really did the work.
Oh, it was,
Yeah.
It's funny.
I've gotten that across the knuckles from my grandfather. So.
Yeah, did your grandfather slap you in the face?
No.
My dad used to smack me in the face if I said something really shitty.
Nah.
Yeah.
Yeah, back then, it didn't take too much, though. Yeah, you get a little bit of that, and it got to where you just needed to be reminded, or, like, do you want the paddle? Or no, sorry. There's much more of the yes, sir, yes, ma'am type stuff. There's far more respect, I think, back then.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool.
Definitely.
So, and in school, too, from what I've seen now, teachers have a hard time disciplining students. There's only so much they can do before the parents come down and start chewing out the teacher. Like, what do you mean disciplining my kid? Yeah.
It's
Back then it was just the opposite.
Yeah.
So teachers had a lot more support. There were the parents, during the day while you're at school. So you minded them.
And it's kind of like teaching is also looked down upon in some ways. Like people do not care about what a teacher says. I remember when I was going to school, teachers were getting yelled at. Even the best teachers were just constantly getting disciplined basically by these parents who were being told, why is my kid failing? And it's like, well, I've spoon fed your kid all the information. It's just them not doing the work. And it's like, no, you have to pass my child. And it's like, no, your child's fucking retarded.
Yeah.
It's like, I watched one of my favorite teachers, like, as time went on, because my brothers went to the same high school and had her. They were like, yeah, she's not like the way you described it. And then my baby brother's like, yeah, I don't see how you said she was a nice teacher, I was like, what do you mean? And he's like, she seems worn out and angry. I was like, damn.
Well, yeah, I mean, she's been worked over too many times.
Yeah, they wear them down.
Yeah, and I was like, man.
Yeah.
I was like, why do I want to go into this as my profession?
Yeah, and if they're not getting the
Yeah,
support of the
absolutely.
parents, so there's only so much they can do.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I when I was going to school, I had autism, and I was like undiagnosed at that time because my dad, probably just didn't care or something. But like, I remember the teachers back in the 90s, they would be trying to teach me, and I was also really bored a lot with class, so I would just not care, and they took that as me not knowing anything, so they stuck me in remedial courses.
Yep.
And I would just sit there, and I'd be in remedial courses, and I would just be sitting there, and I'd be even more bored. So what was going on is they just weren't teaching me the right way. And then when I got in middle school, I started making straight A's, and my dad was like so surprised. He's like, man, you're making straight A's. I'm like, yeah, that's because this is a little bit more interesting to me.
Yeah, it's more challenging.
Yeah, and he was just like, well, you've been in those remedial courses all those times. Like, yeah, and they were boring. I was like, regular classes already boring, but like remedial courses are really boring. So
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the way it is.
So they just didn't know. But that's really cool. So that's what it was like growing up in the 50s. Did they have the little malt shops and all that other
very
shit?
much.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Get, soda for 10 cents.
That's pretty
Add
cool.
some vanilla or cherry syrup without extra charge.
Oh.
I remember Saturday afternoon movies at the local theater, a separate theater, which you don't see anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
25 cents to see 2 movies.
Mm-hmm. That's
Another
really cool.
dime for soda and dime for popcorn.
God, it's so cheap.
Yeah.
Good Lord. What was minimum wage back then?
Oh, hell, I don't know. I remember my first real job, other than paper route, my early teens. First real job.
It always
after
seems like
school.
that's like the old school like way to make money, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the first part-time job I had in high school, I was making $1.68 an hour at Publix.
$1.60 an hour.
Yeah.
Wow.
Plus tips. That's when they would allow you to take the groceries out to the cars and be tipped.
That's pretty cool.
So
Would they give you like a quarter?
quarter, 50 cents, something like that.
Well, the money meant something back then. Now
Yeah.
the money means nothing.
Yeah. Well, for a quarter, I could at least get a soda and have leftover money.
That's crazy.
It's like now you feel broke when you go to Walmart.
Yeah.
Walmart's high class. You got to go to Food Lion.
Well, when I was in high school, there was a McDonald's right across the street, and you weren't supposed to leave campus, but you could sneak across to McDonald's and get a burger, fries, and a Coke for under $1.
Damn. Do you remember when it went from being $1 to like $8?
Yeah.
Was it like
insane.
was it rapid or was it like gradual?
Gradual. There were some jumps in there, but
Do you
Gradual.
when do you remember the biggest like inflation moment growing up?
I don't know. Can't recall.
Can't recall.
They kind of squeeze that in gradually enough to where it's not that noticeable.
Yeah, like for instance, when you started driving, how expensive was gas?
Like 33 cents a gallon.
Wow.
Seriously.
Yeah, it's like almost what
$3.25 now.
$3.25 now. Yeah.
I was smoking in my teens and paying about that for a pack of cigarettes.
Damn. Now a pack of cigarettes is like $8.
Yeah, they're trying to sin
That's
tax
nuts.
it.
That's insane.
That to me seems like a good incentive to quit smoking.
You would think so, but somebody just thinks to themselves, well, if I just go get around state lines to another state where it's cheaper, I can buy this in bulk.
Yeah.
It's like you're paying to kill yourself. I love it.
That's about it.
Well, it's kind of crazy. Like it's like what we were talking about. It's like people will find any way to kill themselves without actually just taking responsibility.
Oh, sure.
Like Like, oh yeah, like, I gotta eat fast food because I'm in poverty. It's like, doesn't buying more fast food put you further in poverty?
Yeah. For what you're paying for it.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's like I mean, if you're paying $8 a meal, I mean, you could have actually bought some real food, and just prepped it at home.
Get multiple meals. out of
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Hey, you can actually price it out at $4, $3 a meal.
Yeah.
Actually,
Yeah.
save a lot of money. Yeah.
Yeah. And leftovers, when you're cooking, you always have leftovers.
Yeah. Man, I haven't had leftovers in forever.
Really? You eat out too much.
I honestly, well, here's the thing. Like, I do cook at home sometimes. I just don't have, I don't know, like having a home cooked meal is just not the same as it used to be. Like, I don't really have a home cooked meal very much.
No.
The easiest way to actually save some money is to get like all that, like a lot of store brand stuff, like best like items that you can sort of just bulk up on are rice, beans, and pasta. Like those three items right there, you can make multiple meals with so very little.
Easily.
Yeah. So it's like most of the time when I was in the military, that was a great way to save money too. It was like buy those like essentials right there, and make it to like most of your meals. You're good. Add a little bit of proteins in there. You're good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
That sounds pretty reasonable to me.
Yeah.
I mean, it still costs a good bit of money each week, but it's like great, but still better than what you're paying if you just go and eat out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's smart.
All right. So tell me, guys, when you were a kid, what did you do after school?
I would go to this thing called the after school program in the 90s, and I would hang out there till my dad would come pick me up sometimes. It got to the point when I got into like first and second grade that I would start riding the bus home, and I would ride the bus home, and when I would come home, basically like I would go outside and play for a little while, and then my dad would come home around 5, and then we'd have to come inside around 7. So I kind of had I think my generation probably had the last little bit of that outside fun shit. And then,
I didn't have any fun playing video games, so I was like back when like you got the N64 and everything, and the PlayStation 1. I wasn't doing that. I was outside playing and like just kind of using my imagination, even as a kid.
well, I mean, I still had the PlayStation Nintendo 64. I just didn't. I only played that like after 9, like not after 9 o'clock, but after like 8. I would play that a little bit, and then I would go to bed at like 9 or 10.
I guess I was more of a TV junkie.
Yeah.
Because I really love watching cartoons, but for the most part, I remember when my parents like would always be like, okay, we're taking disciplinary action against you now because they stopped hitting my brother and I, and they're just like maybe we got to use some of these new parenting skills, and they're just like, no more TV. So my brother and I would just go out. Actually, no, we were just like, fine, we'll just go outside. So you didn't say outside was barred.
Yeah.
And that's legit.
I mean, yeah, we still had baseball, like a baseball mitt, and it's just pass the ball around for hours. I mean, we had a soccer net that we bought, so we actually went outside and played around for a little bit. So it was a good way to just let off some steam, and it's kind of like it was kind of like rebelling, but in a very productive manner.
That's legit.
Well, when I was a kid, I spent a lot of time outside. As long as I had my schoolwork done, weekdays, go out, meet up with some of my buddies. Weekends, and have breakfast and tell my mom or my grandmother, whoever was home at the time, where I was going, whose friend I would be at. Naturally, there's no cell phones.
Yeah.
So we always exchanged phone numbers. They had phone numbers for all my friends, and they knew basically where I was going to be in the neighborhood.
Okay.
That's it. Cool. Now, I was out, I'd have lunch at somebody's house or come back, have lunch, go back out again, pretty much until dinner time. That's it. Of course, there were no video games or any of that stuff.
Seems legit.
That's pretty cool, though.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like
a world without video games, though. That must have been interesting.
I mean, to be fair, there's so many grown men who just kind of get consumed by video games now that they never really know what it means to grow up.
That's right.
I mean, it's not like when you just want to play video games to let off some steam, but it's like you got grown men completely avoiding like their responsibilities in life, just hanging out in front of a TV screen.
Yeah.
I mean, shit. I have the new Xbox upstairs on my 4K TV, and I maybe have played it like maybe a total of maybe 20 times in the past year. I've had this thing for a fucking year, and I've maybe played it like 20 times in the past year.
I'm gonna.
This is not very much at all.
The funniest thing is playing a game like Red Dead Redemption, because I really love that game. And I've noticed that a majority of the time I'm spending like fishing or hunting, and I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna go outside.
I'm just gonna go outside.
I was like, I'm doing the outdoor activities that I want, but I don't have like friends to go and do it with.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Halo Infinite comes out pretty soon, so I'll probably play that a good bit. But other than that, I don't know. There's no games that really I don't know. Video games don't make me feel excited like they did when I was a kid. And I don't know if that's because I've gotten older and I've kind of outgrown video games.
I think there's like a certain element to, just growing up. Like you don't have the same interest in things. Like,
I don't.
Like I found I grew a bigger interest in reading.
I'm more interested in making money, dude.
Same.
There you go. That's a good interest.
Yeah. Like, it's like the thing I was telling you earlier, Scott, when you first showed up. Like, me and the girl I've been dating, we're trying to figure out a way to make a lot of money so we don't have to work very hard and maybe we can travel a little bit,
Yeah.
So.
Well, it's like I'm going to start being a personal trainer while I'm doing my last 2 classes. And I'm pretty excited about that because that gets you out there to make even more money.
Yeah.
You're basically doing sales.
Yeah. And once you get, a client base,
Yeah.
you can have some flexibility.
Exactly. And you're not, what I like about it is that you're not a slave to just staying you don't have to stay clocked in from 9 to 5 traditionally where you're just like hanging out waiting for work to come your way.
Yeah.
True. You're working on a basis with people during certain times of the day, and then the rest of the day you can work on yourself.
Yeah.
And I kind of like that flexibility.
My son-in-law's got it even better.
Oh, yeah?
He's a very, very good tattoo artist.
Oh, yeah.
He's one of the top ones in the metro Atlanta area.
That's
seriously.
nice.
He does tattoos that look like photographs. They're that detailed. And right now he's booked up through February.
Ooh.
So, and he can travel and do tattoos while he's traveling.
That's always the nice thing about that art.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yep. Do bookings, when you're out and about. That's pretty cool.
that is. And like another big thing is like when you were growing up, what was it like? What's it like now seeing a lot of millennials who are overweight at young ages? Like you see like a lot more childhood obesity versus like when you were growing up.
Didn't have that. I mean, you can look through my yearbook. My class, you did not see that.
Yeah, I heard like back then, like if you were like the very rare time you would see someone who was fat, it would be like
Medical condition?
No, not even medical condition. I heard it would be like they would slightly have a little bit of a gut type of thing.
Yeah.
That's about it. No, the big people in my high school class, or maybe some of the football players who are about your size, and everybody else, was very much in shape.
Yeah.
Of course, kids were out and about a whole lot more then.
Yeah, and it makes you wonder though, because it's like even when it comes down to like something as simple as recruiting for the military, they have a hard time pulling candidates who want to join because everyone's overweight.
Yeah.
And it's kind of terrifying.
And they'd have a tough time if they got into the military in such bad shape.
Yeah, and it's like, I mean, I've always struggled with my weight, and I remember that was a big issue while I was going through, and I was like, man, how did we get as a culture that being obese is like okay?
Poor food.
Yeah.
There's so much more processed food that we're eating now. Even all the stuff you get at the grocery stores.
Oh yeah.
There's so much more of that we're eating at home, and a good bit of stuff that we're eating at fast food restaurants. So that's a good bit of it. And everybody's driving everywhere. Nobody's walking. Everybody is sitting inside watching TV or playing games. They're not out and about, doing stuff like when I was younger.
Well,
It's the same thing over in Singapore. My wife is from Singapore.
Oh yeah.
And I've been over there several times. It's the most beautiful place. But you can always tell the tourist over there.
Yeah.
because they're out of shape.
Like they're big and fat sweat hogs, baby.
Yeah.
To be fair though, my dad has actually said that about like when he's visited Asia for business trips, that you can definitely tell who's from Europe and who's from America.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Oh, look, you're so big. You come to my restaurant and eat so much food.
You're so fat.
Come on in, fatso. Eat my food.
That's right. Eat your feelings away.
Yeah.
They probably start salivating at the mouth when they get someone like that coming by their restaurant.
Yeah. Well, people are, walking a whole lot more overseas than what we do here. We drive everywhere.
Yeah.
Everybody has to have a car. Everybody has to drive, not walk.
I remember when my wife used to work at a hotel, and there would be European customers who would always ask like for something as simple as the stairs. She was like, but the elevator's like right there. And I was like, no, you don't get it. It's like Europeans want to use all the ability to walk wherever they can go.
Sure.
And I was like, and that's why it keeps them in shape.
Yeah.
I mean, for the most part, I remember going to Italy, and I mean, the food is real, and I mean, the portion sizes are a lot smaller.
Yeah.
So the people take care of themselves over there.
Yeah. Well, when you go out to eat here, the portions are all big.
Oh, yeah.
When my wife and I go out to eat, we always have leftovers. We don't pig out and eat the whole thing. We always have leftovers. So basically, we get 2 meals
Yeah.
each time we eat out.
It's kind of a nice investment there, you know?
Yeah.
I usually always get like either a small appetizer or like a side salad when I go out to eat nowadays. Because
Nice.
that's actually
Good
the
way to
right
do it.
portion.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like 6 wings, perfect for me. Like people, like you see the big fat motherfucker that comes and he's like, oh, could I get like 25 wings, please?
Can I get the never-ending wings and the beer?
I remember several years ago, my wife and I were at one of the Asian buffet restaurants. And at a table near us, there was this really big family. I mean, everybody was just obese.
Gargantuan, monstrous.
Except one teenage daughter, was in decent shape. I mean, she looked, pretty nice. And her family, everybody in her family was teasing her because she was not coming back with these big plate loads of food that she was eating. She ate mostly salad and stuff, and they were giving her a hard time. Like, what's the matter with you? You got to eat.
No, she doesn't. She doesn't have to eat.
What I always found is like interesting too, though, is like when I don't know what it was, but it's like with my family, they always would fill your plate up. I mean, Italian food is all carbs, so you get, unless you're running outside like as much as you were as a kid, you're not taking that weight off.
Yeah.
You're gonna start storing it away.
Yep.
And that's why childhood obesity hit me hard.
Sounds about right. I mean, childhood obesity wasn't really that big of a deal to me until I turned 11. I was in pretty good shape. My dad would feed me and my sister a really healthy diet growing up. And I started gaining weight because my mom came back into my life, and she showed me fast food for the first time. And I remember the first time I ever had McDonald's, I ate it, and I was just like, I looked at her and go, this is terrible. And she goes, what do you mean? I was like, first of all, it's really sweet, and it's really salty. I don't like it.
Yeah.
But then I got addicted to it.
Well, I mean, that's the whole point about it.
Yeah.
They found a way to combine all the flavors together to get you coming back.
Oh, because she showed me she showed me a hamburger, and it was very different than the hamburger my dad would make me, because my dad would go get like really good lean like Angus beef, grill it on a grill, just really season it well, and he'd put it on a wheat cracked bun with like not American cheese, but like really good like provolone or something.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Sweet.
With vegetables on top of it, like fresh tomato, fresh lettuce, fresh onions.
So that was something that I liked about the Irish breakfast I had yesterday at the pub.
Oh,
So it came with the tomatoes and everything, and I was like when I bit into the tomatoes, I was like, oh my god, this is amazing. I was like, the American breakfast, the American breakfast with all the pancakes and just sweets on top of it.
Yeah.
It's just not as appealing. Like when you have that kind of a breakfast,
Honestly,
most of it's healthy.
They think that the original American breakfast from the 40s and 50s was better for you because they weren't eating a ton of grains, but they were eating more like pieces of meat, like and eggs and stuff like that.
True.
You know, they think that was actually healthier than eating like
I mean, that's why
pancakes and shit.
that's why a lot of bodybuilders and like athletes today, they try to pack up as much protein as they can within the morning with some pretty nice complex carbohydrates.
Yeah, I don't eat breakfast though. Most people don't know this about me. I skip breakfast and I eat lunch and I eat dinner. That's the only 2 meals I eat for the day.
But
You're
you're
missing
also
the best meal.
Huh.
You're missing the best meal.
So, Scott, that's actually a myth.
I don't know. I mean,
No,
because I think
you need the fuel to get started.
I don't need it. I fast 17 hours a day, and I feel great. I feel better now than I've ever felt in my life. Honestly,
I think it's personal. Honestly, it's like because I like having 3 meals a day, while some people subscribe to the 5 to 6 meals a day to lose weight.
I could never do 5 or 6 meals a day. It's impossible.
You know that's the thing too, right? The most I can do is 4, and and one of
So-
those meals is a small snack.
Only if you graze.
Yeah.
And not have
I
you know,
wa-
big sit-down meals. I mean, where do you see a fat cow or a fat horse? They're eating throughout the day. They're grazing a little bit here, a little bit there,
Yeah.
and moving around while they're doing it. So
Yes.
Well,
we don't do that.
I just know from I watched this guy on YouTube. His name's Gravity Trainer, and he's a bodybuilder, and he's a personal trainer in Hollywood. And I like him because he'll tell you that you can eat 5 or 6 meals a day, but you could also eat two meals a day if you wanted to. It doesn't matter how many meals you have throughout the day, as long as you stay within your calorie restriction that you're trying to do for the day.
Yeah,
That's what it's all about.
yeah. What you're taking in, of course.
Yeah, what you're taking in versus what you're putting out. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, though, too, what I've noticed is that the biggest lie that a lot of people tell you is I don't have time to eat healthy, or I don't have time to go and work out. It's like
Yeah.
whenever when I get my Instagram to start trying to promote myself for this training position and stuff, the whole point is I'm gonna like a lot of what I do is all calisthenic based, for the most part. A lot of I buy kettlebells for my house because I like them. But most of the time I'm only lifting for my legs. So even then, when people say I don't have time to work out, it's like, or I don't have equipment, or I don't have a membership, it's like, you have a floor, do some push-ups. It's like it's not hard, and it's like well, you know, I want to do a little more than push-ups. It's like there's this amazing thing. It's called lunges. It's called
Burpees.
Yeah, like it's like you think convicts have weights? It's like most state penitentiaries don't have weights anymore because I realized, we shouldn't let the convicts get bigger with higher testosterone levels than the guards. It might be a little bit dangerous for us.
Yeah.
So they're like, hell, let's take out the weights. Oh, wait, they're kind of angry, but they're getting hopped up on burpees.
Yeah.
So my next question, what was it like being a teenager in the late 60s?
Well, getting ready for college, with single mom. In my later teens, anyway. I was working after
Civil
school.
rights movement too.
Yeah, civil rights movement. Yeah.
Yep.
A lot of anti-war sentiment.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nobody was in favor of the Vietnam War except LBJ and his crew. Were making money off it.
Yeah.
So that's sad thing is a lot of the service people that had to go to Vietnam were also paying for it, because a lot of Americans were taking them as being part of the problem, because they were participating, even though a lot of them were drafted and had no choice. Mm-hmm. So they'd come back from the hell of Vietnam and face all kinds of ridicule. Mm-hmm. So there was a lot of anti-war protest, and stuff like that.
And you remember that?
Oh yeah, very much. Mm. Yeah, and Kent State when I finally went to college. I grew up in Florida, but in my teens I was in Civil Air Patrol. You know what that is?
No.
Civil Air Patrol is a civilian auxiliary of the Air Force.
Oh, wow.
Anytime there's a plane down, it's the CAP that goes out for search and rescue.
Oh, cool.
And there's a cadet program in that. Once you're 13, you can join as a cadet. And you learn all about search and rescue. You'll learn all about aerodynamics, everything there is about flying a plane. And you do actually get to fly a plane.
That's really cool.
So I was 14 years old, and I'm flying a plane already. So
It's
which is very
amazing.
cool. You learn all the military things, everything you would learn basically in the Air Force. You've got an Air Force style uniform and all. So I was doing that, and as you learn more in advance, you get ribbons and you get rank. I got to be an officer and eventually became a cadet squadron commander and in charge of my own squadron. So because of the flying, I wanted to do more of that. In my senior year of high school, I wanted to go into the Air Force Academy.
Yeah.
In spite of all the anti-war stuff, and it's like, so what? I want to fly jets.
Yeah.
Enough of this prop stuff. I want to fly jets. I want to go faster.
Yeah.
So I spent much of my senior year interviewing and going through all kinds of testing for the Air Force Academy. That was pretty rigorous. And I did not actually have people that were teasing me about that, fortunately. A lot of the people I knew, were very supportive, which was great. It could have
really
been just the opposite. It's like, you want to be part of the problem, with all the anti-war stuff. But, I had a lot of hippie friends and all, but, they were still very cool about it. So that worked out all right.
That's really interesting for the time period.
Yeah.
I mean,
But when I did not get the selection for the Air Force Academy, I had one guy that beat me out. My second choice, one of my alternate choices, was Kent State because of what they had up there. And my early teens, I lived up in Youngstown, Ohio, not too far from Kent. And I still know people that are up there, and I wanted to be, back among some of them again, especially this one particular girl who ended up going to Akron University, very close to there. So, about May 4th, 1970?
yeah.
All right, 1970, I graduated, and I had selected Kent State. Right after I selected Kent State, had everything finalized, they had the shootings.
Yeah.
Killing students, National Guards killing students, and right away, people like, you still going up there? You're going to get shot. Yeah. So, well, I still went, and glad I did. Had a great time up there. Actually, being a photographer, I was on the yearbook staff with John Philo. The pictures from Kent State, the shooting?
Yeah.
Especially Allison over the body of that student with the blood flowing.
Yeah.
He won a Pulitzer Prize for that, which is a big award in journalism. I was on the yearbook staff with him, and we worked in the photography department as assistants for one of the photography professors. We worked together on that. I learned a lot about photography from him. And in addition to taking pictures for the yearbook, I was taking pictures for student government. And with the anti-war sentiment, they had regular anti-war protests going on campus there. So when they had that, I was out there taking pictures. The funny thing is, when I started doing that, I'd call home back to Florida, and I'd say, hey, we saw you on the news. I said, what do you mean you saw me on the news? You were at that, anti-war protest taking pictures, and they got you on the news. So, okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
So I did not, I wasn't one of the draft card burners. You know about the draft.
Yeah. Yeah. They. I was actually going to ask you about that. I was like, how many people did you know who were drafted in?
I know people who took off to Canada, so they weren't drafted. I know a few people that got drafted. A buddy of mine who was also in Civil Air Patrol with me got to be a helicopter pilot.
Okay.
And he spent 2 tours in Vietnam. He volunteered for a second tour.
Yeah.
And he was highly decorated for that. He was a hero. He went through all kinds of hell. And he's a local hero because of that.
Yeah.
But I know a good deal of people that were Dodge drafters.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, it's kind of at this point when you look at it though, you're really taking away the choice from people to make to be able to sign their life away on such a big decision. Being forced into that is troublesome. It's like I still hear people say, "It's like we need to have mandatory service." So I'm like, why? Like, why would you want that? That's slavery. Mm-hmm. I was like,
well, I think it's very, very important for discipline.
I personally look at today's culture, and I think about how badly this would affect unit cohesion. Like, if you got somebody who doesn't really want to be there, they're going to make it hell for everybody else. And then they're going to make things worse on themselves because, I mean, once you go through and you're making everybody constantly affected by mass punishment because of your jackassery, because you don't want to be there, you're going to eventually really hate your life when your buddies, the people you're supposed to look up to and get help from, start beating you with bars of soap in a shower.
I don't think there's that much of that.
Not anymore. No, that's why they gave us liquid soap.
Yeah. But I think a 2-year mandatory military service would be very helpful for self-discipline. I think that's what a lot of kids need anymore. There's not enough self-discipline.
It makes you wonder what would happen with today's kids versus people growing up when you were growing up. Like, I could see it being more possible in the 70s and 80s.
Yeah. Like I don't know, like a Gene. What about because Gen Z is like the kids now. I wonder what would it be like for them to have to go and do selective
serving with Gen Z kids though is they're very highly motivated, and a lot of them really, they didn't grow up with 9/11 like we did, so they had. It's very interesting. They learn about 9/11 in the history books, and versus us growing up with that experience, seeing people, like knowing somebody's dad who went into Iraq, and knowing somebody who graduated high school, going to Afghanistan, and things like that. And it's like I remember when Syria popped off. That's why I enlisted, because I was like, okay, something's happening again. I didn't go anywhere, but at the same time, I'm glad I went through the whole process.
Yeah,
because it made me I think it made me a better person. Because I will say it definitely, like you were saying, it brought me a lot of discipline. Helps me out every day when I'm going to school.
Yeah, I'm sure it does. You could probably identify certain things that you learned that you picked up then that are now disciplined habits.
It's like it's amazing because you can tell that it like in my own life, I think it made me a lot better because it gave me the ability to be very goal oriented.
Yeah. And
that's why I've gotten as far as I have. Like in my first years in college, I was screwing around and not really caring about my grades. So my overall GPA is really low. But every time I go into class, every time I have a semester, I'm getting a 3.5 or 3.0 GPA for that semester.
There you go.
So it's like, I definitely see it being a big help for some people. But I think some people are just going to be ignorant their whole lives too. And that's the unfortunate thing.
Yeah.
Because, back to the Gen Z kids. They're really good kids. I mean, some of them.
Yeah.
Some of them just really are looking for a place.
They need to get out and live a little bit more, though.
Well, yeah, when they're hopped up on OnlyFans and video games, they don't really know what's going on.
Yeah.
Well, so you talked about the college years a little bit. So that was like 70 to 74, right?
Yeah.
So
college years were fun. A little too much fun sometimes. I got involved in way too many things. Gymnastics team, yearbook, student government, various clubs.
But that sounds like a lot of fun and shenanigans that can come along with that.
Yeah. Some great music. Man, we had some good groups up there. Man.
Maybe it was probably even better than the college experience that me and Nick had together.
Yeah, like were people more adult about things? Because I've noticed when we went to college, people just accelerated what they were like in high school.
No, I think it was much different then. I noticed that right away once I got going, even my freshman year. So even just living in the dorm my freshman year, I mean it was a lot of fun, but I mean a lot of the partying, the panty raids, and throwing water down the hall and sliding down the hall in your underwear, all that good stuff, and then naturally going out and beer contests and all, but other than that, there was...
Jeez, this sounds like way cooler than even my brother's time in Savannah when he was talking about like how hard they would party. I was like, man, you guys were on a whole new level. You're like on a Marine Corps barracks party level.
Yeah, you guys were just like... It sounds like y'all weren't even trying to party. The party would just happen.
Yeah.
It was just happening quite a bit.
like at our when me and Nick were going to school, dude, we tried to find a party, and they'd be like, "Oh no, we're not gonna do that. We're gonna just go home and sleep." It wasn't anything. It was never anything like that.
Hey guys, who wants to come over and play video games for hours?
Oh, jeez.
Like a bunch of dudes playing video games in one room. And it's like,
Oh, it's
it's
so
like,
exciting.
and it's just like, let's go streaking. And I was like, no, that's illegal. Let's just do drugs here.
What? We did that.
Right?
Yeah, you do a big group. And what are they going to do with a big group? We've had the police, watching in case somebody gets out of hand. But everybody just does the streak thing and get dressed, and you're going.
Well, to be
before anything
fair,
happens.
a lot of the ladies we had were not exactly like the finest either.
Well, I mean, they were hanging out with dudes who play video games.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, you're just lucky if you get a woman.
That's bad. So you didn't have panty raids and all.
We kind of refrained from doing that because we didn't want sexual harassment charges.
yeah, see, that's the thing that happens these days when you do stuff like that.
That is so bad. See, that's what happens when you get lawyers involved and all this stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, because
Somebody's too easily offended. And,
I will say,
there's
Scott, I
lawsuits.
told him a really funny college story like the last podcast we had. It's one where basically I went to one of those parties he was talking about where they were playing video games, and I ended up sleeping with 2 girls at the same time, and
Nice.
and they both had boyfriends that were there playing the video games.
Dude,
Priorities.
Priorities.
I went to a party, and I was in a hot tub, and I was making out with 2 chicks. I was like, at that point in my life, I'm like, wait a minute, how did I get here? Because I was like I went from being like the fat out of shape kid to being like the sort of in shape, sort of out of shape guy.
What, the hot tub on campus?
No, this was in high school.
Oh.
My buddy had a hot
right.
tub in his backyard, and we're just hanging out. And I brought 2 women for 3 guys, and then all of a sudden, I'm making out with both of them.
Nice. Very nice.
To be fair, though, most parties were a sausage fest. Was the ratio at least in your favor?
Yeah. We had a lot of those too. We'd organize a party, put out the word, and you invite like 80% chicks and then a few of your buddies, and you end up with 90% guys and a couple, girls. Like, jeez. But
Yeah, I like the parties when it's like a 50-50 ratio.
yeah.
You show up to the house, you're like, yes, god damn it.
One thing interesting, when I was in my freshman year of high school, something that was brand new, waterbeds.
Ooh.
That was the craze. And somebody in our dorm, his parents bought him a waterbed. And that dude made so much money renting that thing out to guys that had dates.
Dude, I mean, I bet you could get some pretty good thrust on one of those.
You know what? I kind of
Never
want
had a waterbed?
I had a semi-water bed. I had a mattress,
Oh, the soft side. Yeah, I've had one of those too.
but I've laid on a real water bed before, and I don't know. Like, my biggest fear is like, what if you like get fucked up one night and you and your girl try to lay in that thing, and then you have something sharp in your pocket?
Burst it.
Yeah. Well, there's my bed.
Yeah. Say, geez, honey, I got you really wet, didn't I?
I mean, they don't even make water beds anymore, do they?
I don't know. There
I've
used to
only
be whole
seen a few of
stores for
them.
that.
I've only seen a few of them around, and that's it.
Yeah,
And usually my friends' parents.
They were very popular back then, huh?
very. I mean, that was the thing. Word got out. He had a waterbed. Man, everybody wanted to know him.
You know what? The motion of the ocean makes you thrust harder.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, shit. I have a 100% memory foam bed, and it's pretty good for doing thrusting too.
I'm just telling you, man, though, you're traumatizing that thing. It remembers everything you did.
I mean, I had blood stains on it from when I got the shit like beat out of me on one of those fucking beds by a
You're
chair.
into some very interesting kinks.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I am.
All right.
I'm a fucking weirdo.
You know,
dude.
just like a finger up my ass and like a little bit of choking, but Jesus.
Okay. All right. So, what about music?
Oh,
like music that you.
Yeah. What do you guys think is really good music?
honestly, I've been
From your era? I mean,
No,
I could,
just in general.
just in general. I mean, all music has something special to offer, but I bet what I'm happy about from your generation's music was it created what we would learn, what we would create, what would happen to like bring into the punk rock movement, which would then like breed the heavy metal movement, which I'm a big fan of. So it's like without somebody like Hendrix getting on guitar, without some of those the Who getting out there, without those guys,
Without Ozzy Osbourne doing his thing,
No, that's what I'm saying. Without those guys, we wouldn't have had like a guy like Ozzy go like, you know what, I want to try and do this darker.
Yeah.
Like, you wouldn't have had that, and we wouldn't have the like a lot of the heavy metal.
Honestly, we would never have Tool, which is a really really good like favorite band of mine without Led Zeppelin, because Led Zeppelin is like Tool's biggest influence.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So, I mean, my favorite band of all time is REM, and they came out in the late '70s, early '80s.
Yeah.
And they were from Athens, so that's probably why I like them so much, because they're from Georgia. But like they've credited REM with the beginnings of like alternative rock, which became very popular in the '90s. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I put the Doors station on my Pandora, but most of the time I'm getting the Who and Jimi Hendrix, which I honestly prefer them more
than the Doors.
Yeah, like Doors is okay, but in all honesty, I just really love like the Who's bass bass player is
John Entwistle.
Yeah, John Entwistle, Thunderfingers.
Yeah,
he he really lives up to that name. He plucks the hell out of a bass.
Yeah,
and I love it. Like, and you can hear it really well when he plays.
Yeah,
man, I don't know. I've seen some videos from like music festivals from your time period, and those women are probably old as shit now, like crusty looking, but man, they looked really good in those videos.
But you know what was great about watching those kinds of music festivals then?
Oh.
Nobody had their phones out.
That's right.
Yeah. Like the one thing
and people were not smashing each other against the stage.
Yeah, thanks a lot. What's his name?
Yeah, they were just tripping on acid and probably fucking each other.
In some mud.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how you do it.
Yeah, well, I think mostly it's the difference in the audience why they were not able to have successful, additional Woodstock celebrations they tried to put together. I mean, they had the '69 one that came off unbelievably.
Woodstock '99 just was bad.
Yeah.
That was bad from start to finish.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember reading about Woodstock '99.
Yeah.
There's actually a documentary apparently about it, like Going to Hell.
Yeah, did you go to Woodstock '66?
No, I wish I did.
Oh.
Yeah.
You would have been really young.
I went through a lot of concerts back then.
So you would have been like, what, 14 when Woodstock happened?
No, 17.
17?
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah, my senior year of high school.
Oh, okay.
That would have been cool, though.
Yeah. So my buddies from high school, went. It's like, damn, that would have been so cool.
Yeah.
I had one friend, the old VW microbuses. He had one of those. He had it painted to look like an American flag. I mean, that was the coolest thing. He drove that to Woodstock. It was like, wow.
That's like one of my. I remember because I took a rock and roll history class.
Yeah.
Because I'm a history major, and that this was it was cool to see Jimi Hendrix play the national anthem on his guitar.
Yeah.
I was like, that's beautiful.
So ahead of his time.
Yeah. I mean, shoot, I wonder if we would have like a band like Black Label Society without the guys like Ozzy or Jimi. Because like when you listen to Black Label Society, the way they play their music, the way they hit those riffs, it just seems like they're channeling a lot of that psychedelic rock.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
I think my generation had the very best music.
Yeah. I can agree with that. I think the 60s and 70s had some really great music.
Yeah.
80s had some pretty decent music too. But I think the 90s definitely had a good renaissance for music one last time. And then after the 90s, I don't think music's really been the same, if you want my opinion.
Well, you know what? It's different. Like that's like we were talking about with guys like Young Gravy, right?
Yeah.
He's not mumble rapping. He's not talking about like some hood stories or anything. He's just talking about fucking bitches.
Yeah,
That's all he's doing.
That's all he does.
But he makes music for fun, and you can tell because of just the way he writes his lyrics.
Yeah,
I just wish they would not call rapping music.
yeah.
Why? It's not music in any way.
I don't know.
Nobody is singing. There's no real instruments playing. You
Well,
got that
it's
computerized crap in the background making the noise.
well. So like early '90s rap was like really good, and they didn't really consider it music either. They called it poetry. Is
Yeah.
what they called it.
Yeah.
Because it was poetry. Like they were poets. So the best rappers who have ever lived, they didn't start off as musicians. They started off as poets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were really just telling a story about their time in the street.
Yeah.
And that's what I liked about it. It's like I like a guy like Post Malone, but I'm not gonna say I like him as much as I like Cypress Hill or I like the Wu-Tang Clan.
Yeah.
I mean, they had some real stories.
Yeah, I consider rapping like at least old school rap from like
Yeah.
the late '80s, early '90s is more of just like telling a story versus like it being like music. You know,
Yeah.
writing a
I think
poem.
music is the wrong classification for it.
One of the bands, one of the groups that I like is La Coca Nostra, and it's got a few characters in there like Everlast, Ill Bill. Honestly, they got so many guys in there. It's like the Wu-Tang Clan. But I listened to Ill Bill talk. He had a song about his uncle who was a heroin addict. I was like, but in there he also talks shit about gangster rappers, college rap, and just like all the other forms of rap that don't tell stories.
I do know that out of all the bands from when you grew up, the one band that has sued the most people, because there's been like hundreds of times that people have sampled this band, is the Rolling Stones.
Oh, yeah.
Rolling Stones has
Yeah.
been like sampled so many times. They've had to sue so many people, and they've actually won most of their cases. And I think it's because the Rolling Stones they were just really good musicians.
They were.
Yeah.
Same thing with the Beatles. I think the Beatles have had to sue people too.
I'm more of a Stones fan than I am a Beatles fan.
No, I'm not a big fan of the Beatles. My buddy loves the Beatles, but he asked me, he's like, what do you prefer over the Beatles? I was like, I'd rather listen to the Doors or the Rolling Stones over the Beatles any day of the week.
The Beatles,
It's all right.
what do you mean all right? Incomparable.
I don't
The
know.
Rolling Stones, back then, they were called the Bad Boy Beatles.
Yeah, it
Okay.
makes sense. It makes sense.
Yeah, and then you had what I call the Beatles Light, who was the Monkees.
Oh yeah,
Oh, the Monkees.
they were
Ah,
basically
jeez.
weren't they basically the TV friendly version of the
The
Beatles?
Beatles.
Yeah. Yeah, and Michael Nesmith was the only true musician in the whole group.
That was the lead singer, right?
No, he's the one who always had that stocking cap.
Yeah, he was a singer. He's
Well, not the lead singer,
but he was, okay.
The
yeah,
main
but
lyricist.
the guitarist.
Yeah.
And he wrote several of the songs. So, you know who his mother is?
No.
He didn't even have to, be in that. His mother invented whiteout.
Damn.
Wow.
He didn't have to work.
Yeah, because Whiteout's the most popular thing on the planet.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Wow. Yeah. What? You know what? Hey, he wanted his own thing though.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah. But his big gripe was, they weren't real musicians. He wanted to do the real music stuff. He insisted they all learn to play instruments, and eventually they got into that and started
Yeah.
doing that.
Yeah,
But
'cause
it was a
definitely see
fun
that.
show to watch anyway. It was not meant to be a serious musical group. It was just campy stuff.
Yeah, my dad was born in '62, and he was telling me about this thing called the banana splits, and he showed it to me one time. And it was like nightmare fuel, man. I was like,
Yeah.
what the fuck was that?
Yeah,
You remember that shit?
yeah. I didn't watch it, but I've
What
seen
the hell
some
was
of
up
it.
with all those fucking Hanna-Barbera cartoons, you guys?
I don't know.
Like they were pretty ridiculous.
Yeah,
Like
trippy. They were on some serious stuff.
like drugs, because
Yeah,
like
they had some of the
'cause,
good
like,
drugs.
Acid.
because I feel like they had a huge success with Scooby Doo, and then they made like 5 or 6 other shows that was essentially the same fucking thing, but like with different animals and like people. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like Jabba Jar, same fucking show. Josie and the Pussycat, same fucking show.
Yeah. Just stop at Scooby Doo, guys.
Yeah,
Yeah, because I mean, Scooby Doo is already pretty. I mean, I liked Scooby Doo growing up, And I used to watch like the reruns of where Scooby-Doo, Where Are You, which is the original 1960s version of Scooby-Doo. But like, it's fucking cheesy, man. It was fucking cheesy as shit.
It was cheesy, but you know what? It's still fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know how many times we can watch the same show where it's like, ooh, I wonder who the guy is. Whoop. Got the guy. Guy's like, well, I would have gotten away with it if it would have been for you meddling kids. They always say that.
Same thing.
You know what though? You know what though? It makes you really wonder. It's like, man, these teenagers are actually traveling the country, like solving mysteries, and no one cares.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know what's even more fucked up? You think the inspectors would be a little salty about that because it's like these kids who have limited resources.
Still my job, man.
I'm a full blown detective in this group of teenagers solved a crime in like hours.
Yeah.
What's wrong with me?
Yeah, because it really was hours. Like they would literally get there the night of, and then by the end of the night, they'd already have the thing wrapped up and ready to go.
Or at least like they were the first what was it, the 24?
Yeah.
They figure it out within 24 hours and just go.
Yeah.
It's fucking ridiculous, man.
But you know, it must have been an interesting time.
There's a lot of fan theories about the original Scooby-Doo.
Really?
So there's a theory that it's actually not set in the 60s, but it's actually set far in a post-apocalyptic future, and that's why everything always looks so abandoned, like in every episode. Yeah. Like, you know, you ever notice like in how every episode of the original show, everything always looks so abandoned and run down.
I kind of figured it was just like the only way you can get away with being a costumed ghoul is that you lived in a really shitty town with people who would believe anything.
Yeah.
It was like all the businesses have gone. Why? There's only this one rich millionaire who seems to always disappear when this ghoulish monster comes out.
Yeah.
So I wonder who it could be.
Right.
We're actually at the 3-minute mark. So Scott, briefly, 1980s, real quick.
80s. Yeah. Don't have much take on that. That's
Cocaine, yeah.
No, not so much.
The Reagan years were not as good
smoking,
as people think.
wasn't doing much of anything. I was after my first marriage to the model. That was a big mistake. That was just a lot of partying and good sex. It was after that and before my ex, the mother of my beautiful daughter and wonderful son.
So you were basically that was your 30s, right? In the 80s, yeah. So you basically were just like, hey, Reagan years, hey,
Reagan years are really stale.
Tears for Fears, hair metal, whatever. I'm here.
Well, that's why we at least got Metallica and Slayer to be like, we're gonna kill Nikki Sixx and Motley Crue.
All right, I got something for you. Of your music, how many groups can you name in each alphabetical letter that have more than one album or several hits?
You said in alphabetical order?
Jesus,
not in alphabetical order, but one for each letter. I can name multiple ones in every letter except X. That.
Shoot, I haven't really thought this far ahead.
Yeah, I haven't really thought.
Now this is a good exercise because I mean,
Well,
a few bands.
Think about it. I mean, do you really have groups that you like or that were popular?
REM.
Well, REM, of course,
Tool.
but how many?
How many albums?
No, I mean, how many groups do you like from your type of music?
I would say at least 10.
Yeah, at least
Groups that I like that I like have multiple albums.
Yeah, I could say about 10.
But at the same time, I think it was because they came right into the 80s when music got a little stale.
Yeah.
Because like I said, Metallica, Slayer, Megadeth, those guys came in at the right time because music took like a deep dive right into shithole town, and it started becoming a lot of overproduced crap.
Yeah. And music now, how much music do you hear on the radio except for classic rock that is real music and not the auto-tunes stuff?
Yeah, I mean, shoot, what is it? Like in the early 2000s, we got a bunch of rappers who probably had one album, and that's how they got famous.
Yeah.
Yeah, not many.
Yeah.
Not many that I can really think of. I mean, I don't know. I mean, nowadays it's not so much about the albums anymore. It's about the singles. People focus heavily on like what singles come out and not so much the albums anymore. I mean, that's
But
just,
even those, how many have multiple hits that you can count on?
I mean, when I was in high school, bands and groups I used to listen to would maybe have 1 or 2 albums and 1 or 2 hits, and then they would just go.
I guess I guess it was a little different because I could at least say even with the rappers I listened to,
But it was
they had multiple
so.
albums.
But that's the thing. Like me and Nick wouldn't have noticed because there were so many rappers coming out. Like we had a never-ending supply of like just hits. I mean, when me and Nick were growing up, that was the golden era, especially here in Georgia for like Southern rap. Like, like there was like rapper after rapper after rapper coming out like every month.
Young Money Records is out of here.
Yeah, and so is Little John's label too.
Yeah,
it's here too, and so is Jermaine Dupri's label. So it's like, and even Puff Daddy has a fucking label down here. It's called Bad Boy South. So like, yeah, I mean,
But do you think they're going to keep performing decades from now, like the Rolling Stones?
No, those are those rappers come and go.
Yeah.
And we get our hits, and then we move on. I mean, there's a rapper I used to listen to back in 2007, 2006. His name was Gorilla Zoe. He came out with like maybe 3 albums, and after that, nobody heard from him again. Yeah. This band called D4L is a rap group. They put out 1 album, and it was it was certified platinum. It was a really great album. Yeah. I liked every song off the album, but then like they didn't do another album.
The only one who I think is going to keep going is Gucci Mane.
Yeah, Gucci Mane, if we're talking about like longevity, Gucci Mane has probably put out over 100 records at this point.
Wow. In
the span of like 15 years.
He just works.
He's a beast. He works. Like he has his own recording studio at his house, and he's got his own label called So Icy Entertainment. Like he's by himself. He just kind of does his own thing. Yeah.
I mean, that's rapping though. It's not music.
I mean, it's music to me. So
I think I'm gonna have to say it's also music to me. But that's like I don't think we're gonna get bands like Metallica. We're not gonna get bands like Megadeth. We're not gonna get like the one that sadly stopped, Slayer. My favorite is Slayer, and seeing Slayer just finally end it all. It's kind of sad because it's like, man, I didn't get to go see the farewell tour, but at least they went on a high note.
Yeah. I mean, it took like 15 years for us to get a new Tool album,
Yeah, but it was amazing.
It was a good album, though. They worked really hard on it, and they said it won't take that long for the next one to come out. So
Rammstein took 10 years to make another album, and it was amazing.
Yeah, System of a Down is supposedly making a new album right now.
Have you heard the three songs that they came out with? Though?
Yeah, I heard the singles are pretty good.
Yeah, a lot of people don't like it. They're like, someone told me, they're like, yeah, this doesn't sound like old System of a Down. I was like, this is the same band. They're just talking about the current issues. Yeah, absolutely.
All right. But that should wrap it up. So thanks for coming and talking to us about like what it was like being a baby boomer growing up. That's really cool to hear.
All I can say is you missed out.
I would say so, yeah.
Yeah, we definitely missed out. Be sure to rate, subscribe. Be sure to comment. Be sure to check out. I'm going to put some of Scott's information in the description below in the video. And also, if you're listening to the audio version of this, this will also be in the description of his stuff. You can go check him out. Also, check out our merch store. Go to our website. And, stay tuned. I know we haven't had many clips lately. That's because I've been very busy. But we're always going to have the podcast every Friday, nonstop. But sometimes we may be a little slow on the clips. It's just been super busy lately.
It'd be that way sometimes.
Yeah. So, but anyway, as per usual, I'm Wes. Thanks for watching. Scott, thanks for coming out.
Sure thing.
And Nick, sign us off.
Stay sexy, Atlanta.
All right.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Dumb, Cool, and Weird podcast with Wes and Nick. If you want to check out more of our stuff, go to www.dumbcoolweird.com. You'll find our Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, and Patreon link if you want to support us. Also, be sure to check out our merch store. And if you're interested in being on our podcast, you can find a link on our website so you can reach out to us and tell us if you want to talk to us about something that's really weird, dumb, or cool. We'd be glad to hear from you. Hope you will stay tuned for the next weird ass episodes we got. Thank you.